Actually, if you take off those development expenditures, which are very chunky because they are infrastructure related, actually the operating deficit, it's much smaller. It's fairly close to, it's a small deficit, fairly close to the neutral position. But it is going to be a big investment. So I think in that sense, it's a good show in terms of government that they're focusing not just on the social side of things, but they're also looking after the economic infrastructure of the Singapore economy.
And they're also looking after small and medium-sized enterprises. And you say what you saw yesterday was really showing a softer side for businesses.
That's
Explain
right.
what you mean.
Well, if you look at the corporate wish list for a lot of things, but because SMEs in particular have been suffering from high business costs, especially for rentals, and also the tight unemployment situation. So they find it really hard to employ and to compete with the bigger companies to get local workers. So in that sense, the extension of the transition support package for another 2 years for the wage credit scheme and the special employment credits actually help the smaller firms a lot. And if you look at the extension of the corporate income tax as well, that's also targeted also at both the MNCs as well as some of the more profitable SMEs.
And in addition, the increase in the foreign worker levy has been deferred as well, which should help a lot of the businesses.
That's right. That was actually the most benign scenario, I thought, because it's quite unrealistic to expect that the Singapore government will unwind some of the economic restructuring and productivity measures. So this basically opens up a window, some breathing space for the SMEs to try and cope with the high labour cost situation. So deferring those taxes doesn't mean a U-turn in terms of policy, but it's just to give a window of space where they can try and adjust to the new realities.
And now, a lot of citizens here, the elderly especially, say the cost of living is too much for them. The cost of healthcare is too much. What did you see in the budget that helps the elderly population here?
Well, you saw in the last budget with the Pioneer Generation Scheme a once-off package to help those who are age 65 in a specific generation. But the Silver Support Scheme is very interesting because all Singaporeans, when they turn 65, if they qualify under the specific criteria, they will actually enjoy the Silver Support Scheme. So I think it's a big step to the left as far as ensuring that healthcare cost remains affordable for the aging population going forward. And it's a little bit different from the previous schemes in that you actually get cash quarterly payouts, and that basically will help to supplement if your CPF savings are not enough for retirement.
All right, my colleague
Selena
Martin has a question for you.
Yeah, hi Selena, good morning.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. So
Hi.
listen, I don't mean to put you in an uncomfortable or awkward position, but I think this is a fair question.
Okay.
Would it be fair to describe this latest budget as an election budget or a pre-election budget?
Well, actually, I don't think it's a very typical election budget, okay, because there was not cash handouts for everybody. It was a generous budget because most segments of the Singapore population actually benefited, but more in terms of help with the children's education costs, in terms of the elderly parents' healthcare costs, help with the cost of living in terms of GST vouchers and SNCC rebates, but no cash hongbaos in the sense that, like growth dividends in the past. And I think if you look in terms of the actual magnitude of special transfers, households get about 705 million special transfers, businesses got 5 billion. So, it's not really quite election budget in the typical sense of the word.
And Selena, just before we go, there was one surprise in the budget, which was the involvement of Temasek in terms of their unrealized gains. Explain to us what that development was.
Well, the surprise really was in terms of the timing because Temasek hasn't been brought into the NIR framework since 2008. So no one was really expecting that they will be brought in this budget. I think the surprise element also came from the fact that they're going to basically recognize some of the they're going to account for some of the unrecognized capital gains into the dividends to fund the NIR framework. So, there's a lot of questions about how established the methodology is of recognizing, such gains, and whether you have a lot of fluctuations over time, how much is a sustainable rate of withdrawal, and whether they are susceptible, to any political pressures.